Alright, so I guess it's time I get this stuff out of the way. And before I even get started, I just want to say thank you and shout out to you guys who actually responded in the DMs like I asked you guys to do in the first place. Those of you who responded to the tweet, I'm going to answer your questions anyway. I actually didn't expect to get as many responses as I did, but without further ado, let's get started. The first question comes from who do we got here? Franchise Chris. Why won't you fight at Rican Guard? Okay, look, bro. How do I word this? I want to. I wanted to, and I was going to, and I was all for it, but at the time I had just got off the match with Amir, and I didn't want to go directly into another match. It could have been anybody. It didn't have to be Rican. It could have been anybody else who actually do a match. I just didn't want to jump right into a match after that, whether it was a month or 2 months from now. I just kind of want to relax, you know. I just want to chill, and I wanted to get to it at some point, if not at the end of this year, then maybe sometime at the beginning or the middle of 2K19. But some people just can't take no for an answer, and I wasn't even saying no, I don't want to do it. I was just saying, just wait a little bit. We're going to do it, but just not right now. Evidently, some people can't handle that, and they took it amongst themselves to attack me after the match and injure me. I have 2 slip discs in my back because of that, and you want me to wrestle at Rican Guard, or any of you. Why would you? Anyway, moving on. I'm sorry. Next question. At Jester Ka. Who is the greatest clown in Ka? I would love to give you an honest opinion of who I think the greatest clown in Ka is, but honestly, to me, I don't really like clown Kas all that much. Like, I have friends who are close to me who make clown Kas, and I could like really care less about them. Not saying that they don't look good, they look cool, but me personally, I'm just like whatever when it comes to clown Kas. But the greatest clown Ka that I've played would be Jester. I haven't played a lot of clown Kas, so he would probably be one of the best ones who I've played. I hope that answered your question. The next question comes from Deshaun Walton. Is there anyone in Ka's past, more specific from 2013 to late 2017, that you would like to see return and face off against at least once? I would say Monroe, or Gruben Corbana, or Inno, or any of the guys who I grew up with. When I say grew up, I don't mean like actually physically grew up, but the guys who came up with me in Ka, who really just fell off the face of the earth with me. Just recently, I've been talking to Semi Babatunde. It's been a long time since we've had a chat, but really just any one of the guys who I came up in Ka with, that it would be so much fun for me to work with them, regardless of who it was. Next question. Who was your favorite opponent? Wait, sorry. That comes from Jester Ka again. Who was your favorite opponent you have ever faced? That's a hard one. I have a lot of favorites. I can't really pinpoint one specific person who I've had the most fun with, or who I would deem as the best I've played. I would say Ryan Cavallari is definitely one of them. Monroe is definitely another one of them. Scott Barnett, another one. Even Andre Twist, who I guess a lot of people don't even really know about these days, because there's a lot of new people in Ka, but definitely Andre Twist was another person who I enjoyed playing a lot. Brian Amir, LG, Trey Jordan. It's a lot of guys, man. I can't really pick one person. Even Brian Black. Brian Black is someone who does not get any credit. I mean, it makes sense because he doesn't really have a lot of matches out with people, but he is really, really good. If you put him in there with somebody who can let him showcase what he can do, the guy is like really, really good. And he doesn't think he's all that great, but I think he's dope. Next question. Chase Dunn 01. What's up, Chase? Any underrated leagues you've watched recently? That's a weird question. Underrated. I don't know. I honestly I haven't really watched much leagues. I don't watch full shows unless it's streamed, unless I have time to actually sit down and watch it. It's a terrible thing, I know, but I don't have a lot of time these days with work and family stuff and just my own stuff that I gotta take care of. I don't really have time to sit down and watch a whole show, but I've watched a little bit of ROX. I've watched a little bit of Future. I have not watched either one of those leagues shows in full from beginning to end, and that's my fault. That's on me. I'm sorry. I just don't have the time. But from what I've seen from them, some pretty decent stuff. I wouldn't really consider them underrated because it seems like they have a pretty decent fan base. Next question. Next question comes from Alexander Henry. Most fun attire to create. The most fun I've had making an attire has got to be my Sprite trunks that I made in 2011. Either the Sprite trunks or the king size Hershey ones. I don't know. None of you guys probably remember that, but it was the most fun to me because it was something new that I tried with blending colors into different colors, and it worked on my first attempt, and I was just so stoked about it. But that was definitely the most fun that I've had making an attire. If anything, I'll probably try recreating it maybe sometime in the future. Probably not, but we'll see what happens. Next question comes from I am Matthew Storm. How did you and Andy Jaden meet up? You know, I really want to answer that question, and I don't think it'll be appropriate for me to just answer that in a Q&A. I think that deserves its own separate video where I talk about how we met. So I'm going to answer that question, but at a later date, and it's just going to be a video dedicated to that, just out of respect for our relationship. But thank you for answering that question. Next question comes from Dice Striker. Sasha or Alexa? I don't really know what the context is, but Sasha is definitely one of my favorites. I've kind of favored her over Alexa. No really major reason, I just prefer Sasha. So, yeah. Next question comes from DH Young. Will you join Unite? I do not know. At first, I didn't even know what it was. I'm not really in the loop with everything in regards to FAM and Unite. I kind of get told what I'm supposed to get told, and I don't really ask any questions. So, I don't know. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. Next question comes from The French Paradox. What's your biggest achievement that you have done? Do you have any regret? It's two questions. I don't know if you mean my biggest achievement in COD, but I never really thought about that. I don't really view things as achievements in COD, but I guess one of my biggest achievements, now that I think about it, it's a good question, was when I first started doing this, my initial goal was to change the way that people play the game. When I first started playing online, I was very competitive because that's how it was. That was just the nature of playing online. I started playing online in SVR 2007, and there was like no such thing as working a match with somebody. Excuse me, sorry. There was like no such thing as working a match with somebody and trying to replicate a wrestling match. It was just, as soon as the bell rings, do whatever you gotta do to get the win. And that carried on with me through 07, through 08, through 09. And once it got to SVR 2010, I had a relative who also played these games, and she was more on the realistic side of playing the game, and it was kind of strange to me because I never seen anybody play the game to not win. So it was weird, and it kind of took a while for me to get used to it. But it wasn't straight sim, but it was playing, I guess, fair. That's what they called it, where you wouldn't use exploits in the game, things that would glitch, things that weren't reversible. I remember something called the what did we call it back then? double reverse or whatever, some crap where if you try to grab somebody and you strike them, because there were strikes in the game that would be faster than the grab animations, so I guess that was called a double reverse, or you strike them before they grabbed you, and that was deemed as cheap. It was a whole, back then was like the Wild Wild West, man. There was a lot of rules, and it wasn't really realistic in a sense that we were trying to work together to put on the best type of match. It wasn't until SVR 2011 where I told myself that I'm going to try and change the way people view playing the game. I'm going to try and promote playing realistically and promote playing matches in a realistic manner to where it looks like an actual match. And surprisingly, it paid off. I didn't see results immediately because I didn't have a YouTube channel right out the gate. I made one, I think, in January 2011, but my channel didn't really take off until like April, May-ish or something like that. But honestly, it took a little while to take off, but when it took off, it really took off. I remember at a time AOW was the only league in CAW at the time that simulated wrestling, and it wasn't like that out the gate, because when I first got into the first league that I was in, AOW, we were competitive. Like, I'm not even gonna bullshit you about that. I wanted to go in there with the mindset of, okay, I'm gonna do what I can to get the people over, but when I got into a match with them, they would do everything within their ability to get themselves over and to win the match. So it wasn't really all that fun at the start, but once people started fading away and once people started leaving AOW, then that's when things started to change for the better. No shade at all, but guys back then didn't really get it. So it took them leaving AOW for things to actually blossom and flourish. But yeah, promoting simulation wrestling and changing the way people play the game has got to be my biggest accomplishment. But I couldn't do it by myself. Of course, there are others who were like-minded in that matter, also progressed that movement, and for that I thank them a lot. I wish a lot of them were still here. Very few of them are, but yeah, I can't take all the credit. There were some people who went along with that ride with me as well. Next question comes from a young lion. Any advice to new guys looking to make their mark? I guess my advice would be to just do your own thing. I know that's easier said than done in terms of being recognized, but don't feel like you need to join any leagues or any promotions or any events in order to get your name out there. All you really have to do is make your own YouTube channel, play with guys or friends who you know can showcase your ability, and who you know that you can showcase theirs as well, because it's a two-man dance, and just keep doing that. Eventually your name will get out there. You might not end up with thousands and thousands of subscribers, but you will get your name out there. But all you really need to do is just do your own stuff and stick with it. Don't worry about revolutionizing and changing anything, because the majority of things that have been quote-unquote revolutionary have been done before. Just like wrestling. Every gimmick that we've seen come up now, it's been done. It's just little tweaks here and there, but don't worry so much on changing the game. Just find your own little niche, find your own little swag, and just run with it. There's a lot of people out there who've made a name for themselves just by simply doing their own thing. Next question comes from King K-san. I hope I said that right. 1998. What would you wish make WWE games more fun to play? Or what wrestler would you like to have in 2K19? Not too sure what you meant by the first question, but if you mean what would make these games more fun to play, I would love for them to just add a 10 count when both guys are down. Like, I don't know how that has not been in the game over these past couple of years. It's been in SVR 06, and that's one of the things that made that game so fun to me. How it's not in these games it's baffling. Not only that, but being given the option to stay down for as long as you want. That's another thing that I wish would be in the game, as well as submissions that actually let you grab the rope. Not touch the rope and have the submission break, but actually grab the rope. That too was also in past games. But if those things return, then I would have a lot more fun playing the game. As for your second question, as wrestlers I would like to see in 2K19, to be honest with you, I don't really play with the in-game wrestlers. I just use all their parts for my car, as well as their entrance motions and their moves. I have never, well, I shouldn't say never, but I rarely ever play with the in-game superstars. Like, they're useless to me. Their only purpose is to fuel my creative ideas. Next question comes from, I guess I gotta go in my DMs. Vice at Two-Sided Car. Why can't there be peace in the community? Because people don't mind their business, number one. Number two, at the drop of a dime, people will just find some random negative shit to say about you for absolutely no reason. And number three, people just don't have good intentions. People try and put on a positive mask with truly negative intentions. I've seen a lot of trends that do nothing but undermine and discredit others for, again, absolutely no reason. Then again, I guess the reason would be to start drama, but I don't know. I'm not saying these as facts. I don't know if it is specifically to start drama, but I can say that there's no good reason for that stuff to be done. And along with that, people would rather talk about you than talk to you about any issue that they might have had with you, or anything that you've said. They'd rather talk about you, whether it be publicly or privately in a chat, than to come to you directly and to speak about it with you to solve the issue or matter or any type of confusion. There are people who do that, but there are very few people who would actually do that. The easy way out is for them to slander somebody's name, run their name through the mud, and not actually approach that person. And I get it, it's a human thing to do. Naturally, you wouldn't want to talk to somebody who you don't like or who you have issues with, but it's the more mature adult thing to do. And unfortunately, sometimes as adults, we don't always act like adults. 100% of problems, not just in CAW, but in life, I would say 100% of problems and drama can be avoided if person A just simply goes to person B respectfully and asks them what the problem is. And if person B recognizes that person A came to them respectfully, responds respectfully, 100% of people's problems would be solved. And even if it's not solved, at least it will be dealt with in a peaceable manner if people would just do that. But nowadays, people are so focused on speaking their minds, or quote-unquote being real, while not really taking into consideration how the other person is going to feel or how they're going to take what they say. And if you're one of those people, then that's fine. I'm not really here to judge anybody. And I too myself was like that at a time. I didn't really care about how people felt about what I said. I would never really try and word what I say in a manner that wouldn't offend people. I would just go off the cuff, and I didn't care whether or not you were offended. But that, in my opinion, is not the right way to go about it. That's how you burn bridges. That's how you ruin relationships. That's how you stifle relationships from being formed. And in the long run, in real life, it can close doors and opportunities for you. So again, it all goes back to having respect. Not everything that you feel needs to be said. You don't have to say everything that's on your mind. And if you are upset about something, or if you see something that's kind of I'm fumbling over my words again. If you see something that's rubbing you the wrong way about a particular person, why not just go to that particular person and say, hey man, I'm kind of confused about X, Y, and Z. What did you mean by this? Why did you say this? All of our problems will be avoided. All of them. If people would just take the time to approach someone in private, respectfully. But anyway, on to your next question. You asked, is there any way to actually change the landscape of how the community is? I think I kind of just answered both of your questions in one, but yeah, I think there is a way, but that way is going to be hard for people to do because people are too caught up in being real, and they don't know how to be real with someone. Being real is just going off the top of your dome, not having a filter, and being disrespectful. That's being real to most people. Next question comes from Gary Frank Simpson. He asks, you ever thought about buying Fire Pro just for fun? Yes, I have thought about buying Fire Pro. I had it on my PC back when I had a gaming PC, and I don't anymore. I'm kind of sad. I guess at one point I'll have to invest some money into getting a new one because there's a lot of games coming out that I need to have on my PC. And Fire Pro is definitely one of those games. I used to have Fire Pro back on my Game Boy Advance. I can't play it because I don't have my Game Boy Advance, but it's still sitting there. I wish I could play it, but I can't. It's a very, very sad story. Next question. Next question comes from Jacob Anderson. If there was any chance of you debuting in Valor X, would it be on your own terms, or would it be declined based on your perception of the company? I don't really perceive Valor in any kind of way, honestly. There's not a lot of people there who are in contact with me. I don't think I've had a conversation with like 90% of the people who are in Valor. Besides Virtue, of course, he's cool people, but besides him, I don't really have conversations with anybody there. If I were debuting there, that would be cool, but I think if I'm gonna be anywhere, it will probably just be in FAM. I don't want to be one of those guys that's everywhere on multiple shows. I kind of want to just have a home and stay settled down there and just, do my thing in one place. However, I will say that Valor has produced one of the best matches that I have seen in Tulsa versus Hannah Brightly, if I'm not mistaken. That match to me was so fun to watch, and it's not a lot of times where you see a call match and you can remember what happened in it, but that match was one of the matches that I really, really enjoyed watching. And hats off to both Tulsa and Hidamari Bread and Valor for producing that match. Next question comes from Holden Blatt, and he asks, are you planning a return to FAM anytime soon? And what do you consider to be the most accomplishing moment of your career? Yes, I do plan on returning to FAM. When, I do not know. I'm in no rush. It could be next year. It could be 2 years from now. It could be this year. I don't know. But yes, I do. When, I don't know. As far as the most accomplishing moment in my career, that would have to be co-main eventing Fabniversary. To be the second to last match on that card, it was definitely a huge accomplishment in my career. I didn't win the match. If I did win it, then that would have been the biggest accomplishment. But just being on second to last, being one of the last things that people saw before the show was over, was definitely a huge accomplishment in my career. Next question comes from One True Phoenix. And how does one get a unicorn like Annie Jaden? With unicorn seeds, of course. What else? Next question. Next question comes from @SaulWright. Why are you scared of Semi Babatunde? Because I'm a bitch, okay? I don't want no parts. Next question. Next question comes from Brian Young. After healing up from your injuries, who would you face next? I haven't really given that much thought, but to be honest with you, anyone, of course, who doesn't jump other people from behind, then yeah, sure. But as of right now, then no, I won't be facing anybody. But after I heal up, then the table's open. Next question comes from Jordan Richard. How long did it take you to make your denim attire you currently made in 2K18? The detail on it is amazing. First off, thank you, Jordan. I appreciate it. But it took me, it's kind of weird how I did it. When I first did it, it didn't look how it looked now. I kind of had to trial and error with it the first time as well as the second time. But the first time, I kind of just slapped on some denim parts that I got from Google. Yes, I Google shop. The majority, well, to be honest with you, all parts of my attire came from Google. My tattoos, my jeans, the thigh pads on my tights, which I haven't worn yet. I don't think I'm going to get a chance to wear this year. Everything on me, besides from my face, came from Google. I just put my own spin on it. But what I had to do in terms of my jeans as well as my tattoo is I ended up having to split the jeans texture into different sides. Like I had the front top left and the back top right in one texture, and I had to do the same for the top right and top back left and the bottom right, bottom left. It's really complicated to explain, but if I showed you a picture, you'd be better able to understand. But it took a lot of time, a lot of trial and error. I want to say maybe 2 days total of just playing around with it to get it the way that I want it to look, but not an extremely amount of time. Next question comes from the Tone White, and he asks, "You followed in the footsteps of me and my fiance with relationship in Ka. How has that affected your outlook on Ka and the community, positive and negative?" Being in a relationship changes your outlook on a lot of things that really don't matter in your life, like video games, communities inside video games, a lot of things that you spend a lot of time with. Once you're in a relationship, a lot of that stuff it takes a back seat. And Ka in general, even before I met Andy, has taken a back seat to me. And once I met her, it's even like way further in the back seat. It's still there, it's in the car, but it's just way in the back seat. Another question by Tone is, can you point out a specific point where you realized that you cared too much about Ka / this community? Yes, actually I can. And it was following, well, not even following, but during the whole ordeal that happened with my channel back in 2013 between myself and Cameron Bash, as well as Maxwell Virtue. It was just a lot of toxicity. I couldn't stand the sight or the sound of the name Maxwell Virtue. It just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't want to talk about him. I didn't want to talk about Cameron Bash. At that time, those were just two people I just didn't want to be around. I didn't want to talk to. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to see their names because of what happened with my channel. And the reason why I say I care too much about it is because no relationship in Ka or in real life is worth damaging. If there is a possible way to make a relationship better, then why not do it? There's no reason to hold especially in Ka. Like, this is the most minute aspect of our lives for the most of us who have jobs, who have families. This shouldn't matter to us. This shouldn't matter to us to the point where we have terrible, damaging relationships with people. With people inside of the community. And yes, it was terribly hard at the beginning to even sit down and talk with them at first when we tried to squash it, but it just didn't work out. But as years went by, you stopped caring about old beefs that really didn't mean anything, that weren't worth being vexed with someone over. So I don't know if it was hard for Virtue to approach me, or because I approached him first in the DMs, or even in when we were going at it on Twitter. I approached him and offered to sell it because it's just not worth it. Like, we're two grown-ass men arguing about stuff that really don't matter. And fortunately, we were able to squash that as well. So as of right now, we're both on good terms. Myself, Maxwell Virtue, we're not the best friends in the world, but those are two people who I actually do care about. I check in from time to time, and they are actually very decent, cool people. I'm not saying they're angels. I'm no angel as well. We're all imperfect. We all have faults. We all do stupid shit at times. But like again, I said, no relationship is worth damaging. Next question comes from Alexander Henry, sorry, and he asks, "What's your advice for a long-distance relationship?" The question was actually longer, but out of respect for him, he didn't ask me to, but it seems like a pretty deep question. I'll just read that part. For long-distance relationships, man, you gotta have a lot of patience, and you both have to be in it. When I say in it, you both have to be in it emotionally. You both have to agree within your own selves that, okay, this person is the person who I want to be with, who I can see myself being with for the rest of my life. And distance is literally nothing. Like, distance has to mean absolutely nothing to you. Distance has to be the door that you can easily just unlock whenever the hell you want to do it. Even if you can't, you have to have that mentality, because if you find yourself getting upset or getting discouraged that you can't see her or him whenever you feel like seeing her, then that's when it's going to go to start I can't that's when it's going to start going downhill. You have to have trust and faith that he or she will honor your relationship and not look for anybody else outside of that, just because you live miles and miles apart. But once you guys get that down and get that together, then distance really doesn't mean anything. But also, and this is equally as important, you gotta also block out that outside noise. You gotta block out outside noise from people telling you that it's not worth it, that he's cheating on you, that she's cheating on you just because you don't know what they're doing. Anybody telling you that, they're not your friend. You should probably, well, I wouldn't say cut off communication, but limit communication with them when it comes to that subject. But you definitely want to cut out that that outside noise when it comes to that, because that can also be discouraging. I'm gonna conclude and wrap up this Q&A right here. And also, guys, if you want, feel free to ask questions in the comments on this video, or even DM me on Twitter. Keyword is DM, please guys, use the DM feature, and I'll definitely make another video when I have time. Thanks for listening, and enjoy your day, guys. See you later.